Hello and welcome back to episode 9. My name is James and I'm here with the regulars Ben, Connor and Charlie, and we've just watched the Xbox and Starfield showcase. And well, we thought we'd just jump on and talk about what we've seen. Some real surprises in there, maybe a couple of games that we were expecting to see but didn't, but I think overall, pretty good showing from Xbox.
It very much was. So many games, lots of release dates, lots of new announcements and games we were expecting. And then obviously Starfield.
Yeah. Well,
OMG.
good that you mentioned Starfield. I mean, it looks fucking massive for starters. But we'll start with Starfield because that was obviously the big showpiece of the whole evening. I know the Bethesda event was like a separate thing from the Xbox event, but fuck it, we roll it all into one anyway. Starfield, I was astounded at the amount that they showed us and the amount of detail, customization, just everything in that game. It had it all.
Of it. And I feel like the trailer did such a good job of making it feel like a Bethesda game. As silly as that sounds, like
janky as shit.
No, not sorry, not the trailer.
Is that a good thing?
But like the interview with the devs, they really brought it back and made it like, this is our game. You can see how much work we've put into this. You can just tell that each one of those people that we saw were just experts in their field. You know that team's going to be the cream of the crop, and Todd Howard's long vision is finally coming to
his very long vision. His 25 years in the making. I think Starfield has been, but it's kind of for me personally, I am relieved about what I've seen with Starfield first and foremost, because I kind of went into this evening and watching this showcase cautiously optimistic. I mean, we know that Bethesda games have a rich history of being janky messes. The gameplay, no matter what people say about Skyrim, I know it's a massively adored game. Same with Fallout. The gameplay sucks in those games. Like, there's no,
really
you cannot convince me that it's good in those terms. But you play the games for the story, the exploration, the characters, the choices, the freedom, and it feels like Starfield has all of that and then some. But to cap off the point I was making, it just feels like a next-gen game. It looks like they've really improved on the combat specifically. There were some moments when, the character was jumping around and throwing grenades and aiming down sights that it looked like a first-person, like a proper first-person shooter. It looked good. Yeah.
Like you were making comparisons to Call of Duty, which is a great comparison to make. I just feel like I remember growing up wanting a game that was like kind of real life. Like I can go around and do anything I like. And I know Fallout have got elements of that. And there are other games out there such as like Star Citizen and No Man's Sky, where you do have the freedom to go and do what you like, but they are limited and capped in certain elements. Like No Man's Sky is great in regards to exploration, but then there's no real deep story. There's no real like communicating with people. They've obviously brought customization and base building into the game, but it still feels, even though that game has got an amazing scope in what it does best in regards to exploration, it's still very shallow in regards to like deep story and like character development.
And like the world, like what's out there, what's driving this narrative forward, what's making me go out and explore.
It's very limited in what it does. One thing, like we brought up, Bethesda's jank, and it's almost become their trademark. But one thing they've always been brilliant at is
called the Bethesda charm, actually.
No, it's jank. It's jank. They've always been good at world building. I think that's why people still play Skyrim now. 12 years later, they've re-released it 400 times. And it looks like they've finally built everything. They can build these worlds, and they talked about it a lot in their directs about they want it to feel lived in. It's not just brand new and shiny. It looks like these worlds have been touched. These settlements have been worn down. They've degraded over the years, and then they've built this engine, and they've taken the combat, which has always been awful. That's why they had VATs for years, because they can't do gunpowder mechanics.
They didn't know how to animate guns shooting properly.
So they've I think obviously they've built a new engine for the first time in 20 years, which is shocking, to be honest. And then they've taken everything up a level, and I've been really cautious of Starfield because I don't think Bethesda have been good for a long time. But I think I'm not trying to get too excited for it because I've been burnt by Bethesda before, but it looks like they've hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I was looking at those sunsets and the guy was talking about like the lighting of the planets is completely how the lighting should be on that world. Obviously it's a game, but where the position of the planet in regards to the sun and the conditions on the planet will impact the lighting and it just looked phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
I can imagine. I remember years ago when Skyrim was being teased, and they were saying like, "Oh, and you'll want to take in the views because the game's gorgeous." And I no joke, at that time when Skyrim's graphics were probably okay at that time, thinking like, "This looks fucking shit." Like they were hyping up about these vistas, and I couldn't give a shit about them. But this looks another level, like absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, the new engine does look good because, yeah, I don't really see the charm of Bethesda games personally. Like, and I think that a lot of that is to do with the visuals. Like, they don't look great, and if I kind of want that as part of my experience. So Starfield looks like it's got that. I like that the worlds are going to be procedurally generated as well.
Yeah.
So that was interesting actually,
it will add a lot of variety.
And
I thought we
I feel
probably all
like,
thought that parts of the game or large parts of the game would be pre-rendered and sort of constructed.
But we said this when we were watching the showcase together, where like procedural generation has definitely come a long way from like the procedural elements of games back in the day. Like for instance, with Terraria, it's just a world seed, and there's many games like that. Obviously, Minecraft and whatnot, where you'll just the world will change, but there will be elements that won't work because there's not enough like if this is like this, then don't do this, this, and this. Where it feels like in Starfield, I have no idea, but there must be a very strict and very well thought out. This planet is like this, and the scale of this planet and the conditions of this planet. So that means that only this category of wildlife can live here, which means only this category of fauna can live here, and so on and so on, and only place a structure here if these conditions are met. So you can imagine the procedural elements are extremely well thought out, because to risk 1,000 planets and let every player's planet procedurally generate, that's risky.
I've seen No Man's Sky do it, and obviously that game come out to a lot of hate at the time, but it's always been great. Their procedural generated planets and like how far you can explore in the solar system and galaxies. So that game's 8 years old now, I think. It's a long time. So that tech, you've seen AI jump up in the last 2 years, how quickly that's generated. So that tech, and they've got Microsoft on board now with their divisions, they specialize in this sort of tech. So I'm really looking forward just to getting lost and finding out what planets are out there.
I watched an IGN thing the other day where they were just like interviewing their in-house editors or whatever, and a couple of them were like huge Bethesda fans, so they picked them for the interview about Starfield, and it was purely they were just obviously looking to make some content. But this one guy said something that got me totally excited. It was like the thing that he was most excited for when he plays Starfield is the moment where the game stops holding your hand. So obviously when you start playing the game's going to be sort of half directing you to go and speak to this person and go and get your ship for the first time and go and do this for the first time.
We saw it in the clip, didn't we? Oh, here, take this watch. You'll need it to navigate. Like when you get past that bit and it opens up properly.
The first time the game's like, cool, go and do what you want to do. So
it's always a special moment in Bethesda games, because you do the tutorial in Fallout 3 and then you leave the vault and then it's just right, off you go.
Yeah,
you can go
you could
any direction.
Go and do the main quest.
So that bit's they're very good at that. They've done it with Oblivion, they've done it with Skyrim and stuff like that. So
so what is the Starfield version going to be? What is the vault opening going to be in Starfield?
Yeah, that wow moment. Maybe when you land on a distant planet for the first time, you see a sunset for the first time on an alien planet.
Yeah, and like going back to the combat slightly, like when that guy was showing the weapon variants and them saying that they've got more weapons and attachments in this game than any game they've made in the past.
Yeah,
I just can't. And then all of the weapon customization, I can just feel like you're going to have such a journey on this game, unlike
Yeah.
any game. Because think of any RPG, and you're like The Witcher, for instance, that's still fresh in my mind. You are having a fantastic journey playing that game, but you are Geralt and you are stuck in the very sort of good, but you are in that quest line. The end result is always going to be the same. You can make your own story playing this game. You want to be a
Yeah.
pirate and you want to go and pillage ships out in the vastness of space? Go ahead. You want to be a trader? Seems like you can
Yeah.
probably do that too.
Well, it's an interesting, point you make there, Ben, because I think the maybe the one question mark I would have about the game at the moment is what is the story? Where do we kind of go to get that narrative pull? Is it going to be there? Because they've really kind of emphasized the fact that this is essentially a space sim where you make your character, you build their backstory, you set their skills, what they look like. The character customization looked just ridiculously in depth. And
Yeah.
I know that there are people out there. I mean, I'm not one of these people. I like to just go preset guy number 7, start, because I just want to play the game. But there are people out there who will spend 2-3 hours, maybe more, really fine tuning their character, which is
Yeah.
great. And that aspect of the game looks great. But when you get into the game, what's the story? We kind of keep hearing about this whole finding the answer to humanity's biggest questions, what's out there in the deepest reaches of space. I'd like to know more about that stuff.
That's my biggest concern about Starfield. Obviously, people are going to be playing this game for a decade, and they keep going, "Oh, it's their own story." Skyrim's story, I can't tell you what it was at all. Fallout 4's story was awful, and
Yeah, it was
they
rubbish.
it's not the games they make, but there is going to be a huge proportion of people that just want to play the story.
Yeah.
And that's not their strength. They're very good at making games where it's your story. Like, go and do what
Yeah.
you like, and then if you want, there's a main quest over it.
But I
Yeah.
feel like I can see there'd be a lot of people who would never even do the main story. Like
Yeah.
kind of going on from what you've said.
They want to
where,
play a space pirate simulator, and they've got
yeah,
their platform to do it.
Or
And that's all they're
that's
they
doing.
just
it.
want to go and build a load of outposts and build up
Yeah.
a colony somewhere. Yeah.
I mean,
And the main
with
story is just a
supposedly,
thing they can do.
well, exactly. I mean, and with supposedly over 1,000 explorable planets that you can land on, like the possibilities for what you can do in this game really
Yeah.
are endless. Not to sound too fucking corny about it, but yeah.
Well, that's it. And then there was an interesting part in the IGN. They interviewed Todd Howard after the Starfield Direct, and they asked him, like, so how are you going to approach? Obviously, he wasn't trying to understand like the future plan for what Starfield's got ahead, but obviously Fallouts and Skyrims and whatnot, they've all received DLC. Like, well, how would you even go about? You can't add a new zone. They've got 1,000 planets, so. And
Yeah.
he replied in saying that there will be like more singular stories that you'd be able to explore and do, but like
Yeah.
there just seems like there's
They
so
could do
much.
like a fucking alien invasion DLC or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They could do anything. New
they did it in-
factions, an army that comes in from somewhere. I don't know.
It's a lot of factions, like in Fallout 4, they'd unlock Nuka World and then the Raiders and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think it'll be something like that, where it'll be a raiding clan, and if you want to join them, you can join them and go and fuck up the rest of the universe.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
and that's what makes the Bethesda games great. Once again, we said it before, but it's just that freedom, and I feel like there's no other game out there that I can think of that provides as much that this game is looking to provide the players, and also with that level of freedom. Like it's actually mind-boggling to think that a game of this scale is coming out when you had a game like Star Citizen that looked like it was trying to do what this is doing,
Yeah.
but have kind of never really gone anywhere. I know the game has progressed quite a lot, but nothing in comparison to this. Like this game is going to be insane. I just
Yeah.
know it.
If they can pull it off, I mean, we're talking about a
Yeah.
generational sort of game here. From everything they've showed us, like I have never seen anything like this in video
No.
games, and people have tried the open world sort of space sim, be a pirate, be an explorer, be
This is like a
a
life
bounty hunter
sim.
or whatever. But this looks like they're actually doing
It's never going out again.
What yeah, they're actually doing what so many other developers have tried to do, but have just kind of fallen short of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot to sort of like. It feels like we're gushing over this game at the moment, and going straight off the back of what we've just seen. I think some of that is justified. Obviously, some of it's going to be a bit exaggerated. We're going to have to see how the game presents itself over the years and what it's like when we actually play it. A couple of things to sort of mention: 30 frames per second on console. It's not been confirmed, but Todd Howard, like we said, didn't want to actually
he
say
didn't.
what the frame rate was gonna be on the console version of the game.
He did a podcast with Lex Friedman a few months ago, and I jumped in and out of it because it was like 3 hours long. And I like Todd, but I'm not listening to him for 3 hours. And then the 30 frames got brought up, and he's of the mind like if the game's great, like 30 frames is no problem. Like so, I think it will be capped at 30 on console to begin with. But that
maybe
game's
they
going to
can
be
work it out and push it up a bit in future.
If the game's great, it's not going to matter too much. The gunplay will feel like crap at 30 frames, but Red Dead's 30 frames on console. Last of Us 2's 30 frames on console. Like it was 30 frames on console. I don't think it'd be a huge issue if they are going to go like, well, in 3 months' time, it'll be 60 frames.
Yeah.
So.
If they plan on doing that, by the way, if they're planning on releasing a 60 frames per second patch, don't mention it. Just
drop it.
Release it when it's ready, because you don't want like a Redfall situation where you're sort of promising stuff that's like down the line or whatever. Just avoid it. And I kind of tend to agree with that. I think if the game is good enough, there will be people who will be upset about it being 30 frames per second. There will be, but if the game's good enough, I think it can be something that can be forgiven, especially if it's like a locked 30 frames per second and doesn't dip too much into the low 20s or teens.
Yeah.
Locked 30 frames, I think most people will be okay with that.
Yeah. And like you said, I didn't realize a few of those games that you'd mentioned then, for instance. I didn't know Red Dead was 30 frames on console, for instance. I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't actually know that. But that is a game that you can look past it. Like Red Dead is a 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah.
And even if it is stuck at 30 frames, that doesn't take anything away from the quality or the experience that you get from playing that game. So, and that's something that we also said when we were watching it together. This game, I know Bethesda have not got the best reputation. I mean, they do make sort of like sorry, I can't bloody speak. Award-winning games of great renown. Everyone knows their games. Everyone's played their games.
Yeah.
This game, to me, just feels like no one else could have done it. I don't think another studio could pull this off.
The only one's Rockstar, but they don't make games like this.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, but
this is like
Rockstar
their
but
what would you call it? This is like their magnum opus. This
it
is
really
the game that
is.
they've been trying to make since they started, and they're finally making it now.
Yeah, and if it comes out as good as it looks, this will cement Bethesda as being one of, if not currently, maybe the best fucking game dev. Like, if everything meets our expectations, if the trailer is as good as the game is, and all of our hype is worth it, then there's no argument. Like,
it's promising what they've shown so far. So I will say, I mean, we're hyping out quite a lot, but it's good to be.
You
were fucking hyped, mate. Before we even started watching it.
Yeah,
mate, my fucking hype train's gone. It's left the station. I don't care. I'm getting the game day one, pre-order. Give me the fucking digital watch version.
They had a very similar direct before Fallout 4 came out, and it was very much the snake oil salesman. Todd's up there in a leather jacket going, "There's a Pip-Boy coming," and all this shit. And that game sucked.
Oh yeah, shit, I remember that.
So
I remember that Pip-Boy edition.
I don't want to shit on Bethesda too much because I am excited for this game, but they are very good salesmen. They go, "Oh, by the way, there's this special edition duffel bag comes out and it's made of like fucking paper." There's big issues at that company with this sort of stuff, but I'm hoping it's great.
Yeah. And that trailer was probably one of the best presentations for a game I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, they showed so much in that video. Like every question you've got about Starfield, watch that and it'll answer every single one of them.
Yeah, there are a few moments where I thought like, oh, we haven't seen anything about the shipbuilding. Boom, massive segment.
Boom, 15-minute section about the shipbuilding.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm curious about, which they'll show at a later date, is anyways when they open up the creation tool. to modders.
Yep.
That'll probably be
that's a whole nother aspect of the game that is still to come when the modders get their hands on it and start doing crazy shit with the game. Like it gives it another sort of, you know, like a second wind almost.
Yeah,
the stuff that they can add to it.
Because you know in Fallout Vegas they added that hardcore mode where you needed to eat and you needed to sleep and stuff. Like I was half expecting to see maybe that in some kind of element where you have some crew conditions that you need to meet. Like you have to have, I'm sure you will need to have like sleeping quarters, and you will have to have a certain size sleeping quarters for a certain sized crew. But then I was thinking like, will I need resources to manage my crew? Will I need like, I don't know, will my crew get tired? Will my crew be injured and
that
get
the game,
casualties?
I'm sure I read somewhere that the game had resource management elements in it originally, but they took it out because there was. I remember reading something about the fuel in the ship. That if you don't fuel up your ship properly when you go out for an adventure, you can get stranded in space.
Oh, what the hell?
I don't know if that's
to get a space tow truck.
Yeah, exactly.
I might be
misremembering. I might not be remembering that properly, but I'm sure I read something about that being in the game and then them removing it because it was too kind of like punishing on the player.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
but then maybe that could still be to come.
Maybe
sort of hardcore mode.
Yeah, it could be a difficulty modifier.
Yeah, or something that the modders bring, no doubt.
Yeah, right. Well, we've got a shit ton of games to talk about next, so we'll move on. Just to wrap up Starfield, that releases on September the 6th this year. Day one on Game Pass. If you're a subscriber, get subscribed for that. You get to play the game for a month for like $5. Xbox Series X and S and PC. So we look forward to that in September.
And just to jump in, if you were to pre-order the digital premium edition, you can play it 5 days early.
Really?
Yeah.
How much is that then?
Let me just check.
I'm gonna have to pay for that.
This is gonna be the fucking. This is where Todd Howard shines. You know, you play the game 5 days early, but it costs you 120 quid.
So the pre-purchased normal edition is £60, and the digital premium edition with 5 days early is £85.99.
Nah, you can go fuck yourself.
It's a weird number.
Yeah,
£85.
I'm not paying £85 to play it 5 days early. You can fuck right off.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
Well,
anyway, you know,
if you buy it now, mate, you can spread the cost. I'm considering it.
Or you could just literally wait till the game comes out, get a 1 month Game Pass subscription, try the game for like £6.
Yeah.
If you like
Complete
it, you like
it,
it. If
and
you
then
don't,
fuck off.
Yeah, there you go.
Complete it.
Gaming in 2023. That's what that is. Right. Anyway, let's move on. So before the massive Bethesda Starfield reveal, gameplay showcase thing, whatever you want to call it, Xbox had a showcase where they announced a bunch of games, and we saw games from third-party studios. We saw a good chunk of first-party games and gameplay from some anticipated games that have kind of been in limbo for the past couple of years. So we've got a list of everything that came out, or everything that was announced and shown, and we're just gonna go through it top to bottom and have a chat about what we liked, what we didn't like, what we're excited for, what looked shit, etc., etc. So,
perfect.
They started the show strongly, I think, with Fable, a game that everyone is looking forward to seeing, a game that everyone wants to know more about, and what's the guy's name? Richard Ayoade, the guy from IT Crowd, is a character in the game. That's nice to see. We love Richard Ayoade here in the UK.
Stephen Fry in Fable? Did he narrate Fable 2 and 3?
He narrated the trailer to the recent Fable.
I think he was the narrator in the game for the old Fable game. So it's good that they're sticking to like a well-loved British comedian.
Yeah.
I think that game's 3 years away.
100% that we're not seeing that anytime soon.
No,
I think that's the one thing we can take away from Fable, from what they showed us, is that we are not seeing that game anytime soon.
And I want to call out Aaron Greenberg because he tweeted out a few days ago saying, "Oh, there won't be any CGI trailers at the showcase. 3 of these games are in-game engine."
Yeah, which could mean anything. We know that. Don't try and fucking bullshit us. We know your games. We know what you're up to.
It's a crock of shit.
Yeah.
So
that was unnecessary, wasn't it? There was no need to make that comment. Because it was definitely to spite PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly that. It was a direct kind of like dig at PlayStation. It's like, you know, when someone says something, it's like, just shut up, man. Like,
he's got a history of it because
he
tweeted out a while ago going, "Oh, our first party game is going to be 60 frames per second, like day one, up to 120 frames." And then Redfall came out at like fucking 19 frames a second.
Say less.
Exactly. Right. Anyway, so back to Fable. What do we think of
Sorry, yeah.
Fable then? I really enjoyed what I saw. I thought they nailed the humor. I loved the
tone.
kind of the British tone, the British sense
Yeah.
of humor. I watched the trailer again actually just before we jumped on to record this, and there was a section when the character, the girl, was walking, and someone just goes "wanker" as they walk past them, and it's
Yeah.
like it's just classic.
Yeah.
You'd get that when you walk
It's
down the street to get some milk.
barring barring Starfield, I think this is the one Xbox game that I've been wanting for like the longest time. Fable
Yeah.
2 especially was brilliant, and that's you don't get many games with that sort of British sense of humour and that tone and
Yeah.
this fantasy. I'm really excited for it, but I'm tempering expectations because I don't think we see this till 2025.
Yeah, I'm tempering expectations too. Like a big fan of Fable, and definitely excited for this when it comes out. However, I just want to see more. I just want to see how the
Yeah.
game plays. What am I going to be? I don't know, doing. How's the HUD look? How does the combat feel like? And I was a bit confused. Like, you know that bit when Iowade picks up the girl. I was like, is that
Yeah.
just for the cinematic funny bit on like where it's like part of the interview, or is there actually like giants and he's a giant? Like, is that actually part of the
There's
game
actually
world?
giants. I'm sure that they showed it, so I'm guessing that there is.
Yeah.
The whole thing about Fable is like have this big extravagant sort of fairy tale story that you get to sort of go on, and all this shit goes on. And yeah, I've never played Fable, admittedly.
No, I haven't. I know nothing about Fable,
Oh,
Yeah,
so I
same.
had some questions from watching
Well,
this.
go on, Charlie. Let's hear the question. See if Ben and Connor can maybe enlighten us both.
Is this like a continuation from
I
previous games?
think this is a
or-
reboot,
Yeah.
complete reboot.
Yeah,
Me
But
it felt like
too.
that,
Okay.
didn't it?
it's there's a certain charm that come from the Lionhead games. Obviously, Peter Molyneux was ahead, and talk about salesman earlier with Todd Howard. He's probably the biggest salesman that he didn't fulfill
Snake
any
oil
of the
salesman.
promises. But there was just a charm and the British humour and sensibility come through, and
Yeah.
it's got that. Everything I've seen about this Fable game, it keeps hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
But again, I want to see gameplay because you can get the tone right, and the game could be completely off. So
Yeah. I think Connor's hit the nail on the head. It's just got that charm. It's just but it's also got like, I remember Fable being very sad and very like the story is quite deep and very much like a fable from time long gone, like a Lord of the Rings style where the world isn't all like, you know, the hobbits live in the Shire and it's all lovely and green and lush and lovely, but
Yeah.
then there are lots of bad things in the world, and unfortunately you stand in their way, you get
Yeah.
talk shit, get
Well,
shot.
it was nice. It was nice to see something from Fable because they've been. I think was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago that game was announced
2.
now. So hopefully we see that maybe tail end of 24, 25. But I'm kind of reserved on that date. I feel like it's going to be maybe a bit
I was a
further
little
out.
disappointed because in the lead up to this, and I'm glad we saw it, in the lead up, all of Xbox's social media was like teasing Fable. And then we get like a CGI trailer. I obviously want to see more, and they're not ready, and I trust that studio. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I think like Playground Games are a great choice to make this game. They're a British studio. They've been smashing it with Forza Horizon for years now. So you give them a chance to do something a bit different, you know.
yeah,
So
and it's interesting, isn't it? Change of pace, like
Completely
going from a racing
changed,
game.
yeah.
Yeah. But you know their environmental kind of like conceptualization, like bringing the race, the open world to life in Forza. If they can translate any sort of percentage of what they can do with the Forza games in that regard to Fable, I'm sure we'll have a great, you know, gorgeous, beautiful open world to explore. Yeah. Right. So that was Fable
anyway.
then. So moving on to the next game, South of Midnight. Compulsion Games follow up to We Happy Few, which is an underrated game actually. It's a third-person action adventure set in the American Deep South, and in the trailer we saw a half skeleton, half man playing the guitar and singing, and a girl looking for a monster, maybe some sort of monster slayer of sorts. I don't know.
Yeah.
What did we think of this one then?
I was really intrigued. Obviously, once again, CGI trailer, hard to tell, but the art style was great. Looked really good. I
Yeah.
really liked the like cunning, cocky look in her face when she saw this monster. Once again, CGI trailer, but it kind of gives you a good
It's a
idea of
tone,
the
though, isn't it? It
character.
sets the tone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I like no idea what the game's going to be like. Probably some kind of like monster hunter thing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I've been waiting to see what Compulsion do, because I think We Happy Few, it came out with quite a few issues, but conceptually, I think that game could have been brilliant.
Yeah,
Just to
it's
see
a
them
really
now.
interesting game. We Happy Few.
Yeah, was it been 5 years since?
Oh, longer than that, I think. I don't
Yeah,
know how
it's
long
been a long time since this come out. Obviously, hopefully working with Microsoft, and they're actually being hands on with this. I love the tone of it, and the graphic. If the art style is similar to that, I think it's going to be stunning.
Yeah,
It's almost
definitely
sort of
interested.
stop motion, this trailer.
Yeah,
yeah.
And like I don't know whether I'm right in thinking it, but the animals look like they've been carved out of wood.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
What
that's
was
a good
that?
way of describing it.
I can't remember what that film was. There's this film where it's all hand modelled and they stop motion it, and it's like a ninja.
Wallace and
There's this
Gromit.
big-
Wallace and Gromit. I was about to say Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, it could be Wallace.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, South of Midnight, Compulsion Games. No release date for that. No clue when that's coming out. Looks decent. The next game, I was very, very,
yeah.
very underlined interested in
Yeah.
seeing this Star Wars Outlaws. The first ever open world Star Wars game developed by Ubisoft Massive, who are responsible for The Division.
Excited. Doesn't put it close. Like Star Wars, I know Star Wars gets a bit of a bad rap. I know everyone deep down loves Star Wars, but
Yeah.
obviously not everyone is expressive enough. And it's, I love Star Wars. Anyway, I genuinely love like the Star Wars universe and anything that can like flesh out the Star Wars universe, like places and technology and people and ships and all of that. Like I loved it. Once again, CGI trailer, hard to tell, but The Division set a really good example of how to do like a RPG sort of open world, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like a Division type. They did Division very well, and to see what they can do with
Yeah.
Star Wars is going to be insane.
That's a good point. Like the environmental storytelling in The Division, particularly the first game, was incredible. Like I
Yeah.
loved walking around a snowy sort of, overrun New
Yeah,
York
I loved
City,
it.
gangs and criminals everywhere, and like it was so atmospheric. And they never managed to capture that with the second one, but hopefully with them working on this new Star Wars game, they can recapture some of that environmental magic that they managed to produce with that first game.
Hopefully, see more at the Ubisoft Forward event on Monday.
Yeah, well, it would already been and gone by the time this goes out,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll see more of that tomorrow, which will be good.
I'm always cautious about Ubisoft. I just don't trust them as a developer. But there's again, I think visually, obviously it's a CGI trailer, but there's something about Star Wars when it doesn't include the bloody Skywalkers. Like Ben said, like that world is fascinating, and we don't see enough of it. And it's only really obviously you got the Mandalorian and Andor and things like this. They're doing really well, but like the mainline Star Wars sucks, and so I'm interested, but I don't know.
Well, no
there's a
release
lot of
date for that
material
one
to
either.
pull from. So like,
Yeah.
it could be amazing.
Yeah.
Could be.
I
Maybe
hope
this is,
it is.
So EA were working on that. Was it EA? But someone was working on like an open world Star Wars bounty hunter game.
EA and Amy Hennig, wasn't it?
Yeah. So she was obviously the director on Uncharted, or head story person on Uncharted or whatever. But yeah. So that got cancelled. Maybe this is some kind of like retelling of that, because obviously Lucasfilm, they still control all of the distribution rights for Star Wars. Like they want to tell the stories that they want to tell still. So yeah, but that's definitely one to keep an eye on. But moving swiftly on, an interesting game from a developer who made one of my favourite games of recent years, Spiritfarer. Developer's called Thunder Lotus. 33 Immortals is a 33-player co-op, top-down action game similar to Hades, and it comes out in 2024. 33-player co-op.
It's weird.
That's not co-op anymore, is it? That's like MMO territory.
It's crazy. So it seems that they've got an instant pick up and raid matchmaking system. So I feel like you're not going to be even really going to be able to play this game solo. You're going to want to log in. You're going to be put into a party of 33 people, and you're going to session it through some dungeon or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It sounds pretty epic, especially because it's never been done before, kind of thing. So, and everyone loves Hades.
One. Yeah, an interesting one to keep an eye on for sure.
It's a cool art style as well. I like it.
I was thinking whoever's in charge of their art department, and like they need a raise, because Spiritfarer was absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
and that again looks beautiful. So I'm intrigued by it. 33 players. I'm just wondering how it plays, but
yeah, I think
not a game I typically play, but it looks good, so I'd be willing to give that a go.
Check it out.
Have you played Hades, Charlie?
Nope.
Oh,
Hades
worth
is
a try,
great.
Mate. It's really good.
Hades is a very good game.
Yeah,
right. Well, anyway, moving on. Surprise announcement in some cases. I certainly didn't expect this to see this. Payday 3 coming September 21st. I don't really know what Payday is. I've never played the game, but from the gameplay that they showed us, it looked very action-packed, first-person shooter. Payday 3 is coming.
Yeah, so
heist game, I think. Essentially, it's like I mean, I've only played a little bit of Payday 2, but from what I know, it's you got to plan and do bank jobs.
Yeah,
and then deal with the consequences of when police turn up. And
is it like hostage rescue on Siege, but you're rescuing those fat stacks from the bank?
Yeah. Yeah, so like Charlie said, you basically like plan a heist. You can go in all guns blazing. You can go in all stealth. I think you can like execute the mission differently and like, I don't know, gas the vents and stealth do this, or go in full guns blazing, start the heist and then fight and take yourself to victory. And I think they might have mixed it up here and there and changed it to obviously the game has had a very good player base for years and years and years. So I don't know how Payday 3 is going to be, because I don't know. I played Payday 2. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Well, you'll get to try Payday 3 this year because it's coming on September 21st. And I'm going to be channeling my inner Jeremy Renner from The Town when I play that game.
Whose car are we taking?
So next up, the first of many announcements from this studio, Persona 3 Reloaded. Early 2024. I've never played Persona. Don't know anything about the game. That was announced. Connor, you played Persona. Anything to add for this one?
The only Persona I've played is Persona 5, which is incredible. I'm really excited to play these because Persona have got a very good reputation. I think it's similar to Yakuza, where
I was going to say that
they're massive in like Asia, and they're slowly just coming over to the West. One thing I would say, if you haven't played Persona 5, I would wait, because I've heard that from people I've played the game to say that like Persona 3 and 4 are maybe not as good as 5. So maybe wait and do 3 and 4. And maybe if you don't like Persona 3, I would still give Persona 5 a go, because I would put that game up there with the best games in the last like 10 years.
Is this a reboot then? Persona 3 Reload?
It's just a remake, pretty much.
Persona 3.
3, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it'll have like added content to it. Like what Persona 5 did it with Persona 5 Royal. So I just think that's how they've renamed it. So you've got, was it Persona 3, Persona 4 are coming to Game Pass, and then you've got Persona 5 Tactica, which looks like a small little
and then there's another game by that studio, Metaphor Refantasio.
Yeah, I've first time I've heard it, but it's the art style and like the UI is very Persona 5.
Yeah,
so I'll check that out on Game Pass.
Well, Persona fans out there, you're not short of Persona content. There's plenty of re-releases, remakes, and new games coming out for you. Right, next up, a game that's causing a little bit of stir on Twitter, actually, initially. Avowed, 2024 release date. We saw a good chunk of the game. I'm a little surprised by what I saw. It's a lot more colourful, a lot more fantastical, and it doesn't look like what they showed us from that initial reveal from a couple of years ago. That initial reveal looked dark, it looked moody, mysterious. It looked a bit more serious. I don't know, like maybe that was the plan all along, was to have this more colourful game, because if you've played The Outer Worlds, it's a very bright, colourful game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
not sure
changed the
about this one.
font completely. I see a side by side of like when it first got teased, but yeah, it's a complete tonal shift. I don't know if they've played it in house and sort of maybe wasn't the direction they wanted to go in anymore. The
Yeah,
one thing I would say is like Obsidian are on a tear at the moment. They had Outer Worlds, Pentiment, Grounded. If
Yeah.
there's a studio that if they have changed it, they've changed it for a reason. In my opinion, it's a studio that I trust. So I enjoyed what I saw, but
Yeah, because
I
I remember
really
when.
enjoyed the first teaser we saw, like that tone.
Yeah. Because I agree with you, Connor. I liked the tone of what we saw initially with Avowed. I was in the mood for kind of like something a bit more like Lord of the Rings, something a bit more serious,
Yeah,
not something the opposite end of that, which is a bit more light-hearted. I don't know if that game, if Avowed is going to be light-hearted and unserious, but the game trailer started and like it looked like Assassin's Creed at first.
yeah.
Then it looked like Sea of Thieves, and it's like I don't know what they're showing us, and I don't think it was a very good
It
parts.
looked
Like
it
I
looked
don't think it was a very good
confused.
trailer. It looked a
No.
little bit. It was a massive departure from what we saw before.
Mm.
So I wouldn't say I'm worried, but I'm kind of confused about what direction this game is going in.
I don't know. I feel like I know we're yet to get there, but I feel like it looks a little bit like Outer Worlds mixed with Immortals of Avium, like a weird mix, a weird
Yeah.
combination.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
good shout,
Like a-
actually.
Yeah. Can see that.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's apparently coming next year. So not too long to wait until we get our hands on that. Hopefully it meets the expectations of people, but I think we're gonna have to reserve judgment until we see a little bit more because we literally only saw a 5-second tease for the first release reveal, and then this. I don't know, but yeah,
I don't. Just one last comment I'm going to make. I feel
okay.
like looking at. I'm just watching a little bit of combat now. I just feel like it looks like um, Oblivion from fucking 20 years ago. Like, it doesn't look good. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, anyway, we have to wait to see more of that because we've barely seen
Yeah.
anything. So we'll see how that game kind of unfolds over the next year or so. Next up, we won't really talk too much about Sea of Thieves because it's Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, big update, The Legend of Monkey Island, more story content, looks fun. Sea of Thieves, I haven't played it for a while, but it's a game that we spent a fair bit of time on back in the day and had a lot of time for, and it's really fun. So
I
yeah,
think
Sea
I'm
of
going to
Thieves
jump
update.
back into that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be
say
jumping back into it.
To bring
I'll say
back.
one thing, that crossover makes sense, like thematically, whereas you see
Yeah.
like Call of Duty partner with fucking Godzilla. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This
It's like when
actually,
they. It's like when they teamed up with Pirates of the Caribbean. Again, it just
it makes
sense.
sense.
It just
yeah,
makes
so
sense,
Yeah.
It's a
I
match made
trust
in
Rare,
heaven.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I'll probably jump in and try that out.
All right, cool. So that's Sea of Thieves. So moving on, something that actually really surprised, I think, all of us, a Flight Sim big 2024 update. I mean, if you ever wanted a career in aviation, now you can do fucking anything. Search and
This looks
rescue,
so good.
air transportation, fucking dumping
You-
water on forest fires.
Yeah.
It looks
I don't
really
know.
good, actually. And I feel
Crop
like
feeding.
crop feeding, I feel like this update is going to make Flight Sim maybe a bit more gamery and as a result a bit more accessible for more people because
Yeah.
Flight Sim as what it is incredible. It's if you play you don't really play the game because it's a simulator. Yeah, graphically it's just absolutely stunning. And I
It's
think it's a
very
game that
niche.
deserves a wider audience
Yeah.
and more appreciation from more people because it really is an achievement.
And I feel like it'll really tap into that like SnowRunner market, if you know what I mean. People love a game where you do jobs. They love a game where you like people just love it. And
Yeah.
I never picked up. I know it's free on Game Pass, but I never played the flight simulator. As good as it looks, but there wasn't much interest in me just flying around. Like unless I had like a real interest in planes or I don't know, but I didn't and don't. But to do tasks and jobs and like challenges, that was the reason why I enjoyed SnowRunner so much. Like the thrill of like doing something sort of that anyone who doesn't game, if you say, "Oh, I've been playing SnowRunner," I'll be like, "What's that?" I'll be like, "Oh, I just drive around in a truck,
Dropping
Oh, and-
cargo off.
yeah, or like, why do people enjoy Euro Truck
Dropping off
Simulator? And it's
concrete,
like,
dropping off fucking iron beams.
yeah, but there's some weird satisfaction from
Yeah.
doing that, and
Yeah.
I'm
You'd only
glad.
get it if you've played it.
I'm glad they're branching out because a lot of these simulation games sort of take themselves a little bit too seriously. I know that's the genre they're in, but they're doing like a crossover with Dune. Like,
Yeah, that looked
Yeah,
fucking
that
awesome.
looks really
it looks
interesting.
awesome, but you wouldn't expect it from that sort of like hardcore simulation. So
the thing that got me really excited about that Dune crossover is that Starfield on the brain. Flight Sim being a simulator is a seriously in-depth game. Every part of the plane is operational and works as it's intended to. It moves, you press buttons, it does that thing, whatever it's meant to do. So with Dune, I'm wondering if they're taking the same level of kind of detail, and
Well,
you're going to have to learn how to fly these
I can tell you
weird.
right now,
Tell me.
every system and control of the cockpit. This is of the Atreides Ornithopter. I don't know how to pronounce that. Every system and control of the cockpit has been authentically recreated, and and the unique aspects of the flight model have been captured. Master the complex controls of one of the most dynamic aircrafts ever conceived as you pilot your Ornithopter through awe-inspiring locations across the mysterious desert planet of Arrakis. So it
My
sounds like
Dune.
what you were just asking
My
is true.
Arrakis.
Like the interior will be
Fully operational.
fully operational.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks
Yeah.
good. Anyway, I just want to segue over to Charlie because I know that you are very excited. So let's give us your opinion on Flight Sim 2024, the new update.
Yeah, I'm very hyped. I think I'm someone that enjoys these games, and I play Euro Truck Simulator, even though I drive a truck in real life.
So you
but
play
yeah,
Euro
I
Truck
think
Simulator on like expert difficulty because it's just like I do so
Yeah.
much
it's
day
too
job,
easy.
mate. It's easy, mate.
Um,
Don't worry about it.
yeah, I think it's definitely a great move adding these sort of extra jobs, because the way I kind of view Flight Simulator is almost like a very high barrier for entry. I imagine the
Yeah.
people that are sessioning this have got like mad setups with like all the controls and everything. Whereas I feel like
Yeah.
this might be a little bit more beginner friendly, and I mean, I'm absolutely sure that you could play this fully like sim, but I reckon there'll be a
Authentically.
bit of an easier way into this.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
just think all of the different roles that they've shown, I'd be well up for trying.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
the firefighting one, to me, yeah, that's that,
But
because I think that'd be a great job in real life. I'd be well up
Yeah.
for doing that. Like the search and rescue, like, yeah, I'm just excited for this.
Mm.
Awesome. I
Wicked.
wonder if it's co-op. I wonder if it's like, could we fight a fire together? Like, do we have to go and
Maybe.
fill our tanks with water at a local
Yeah.
river together? I don't know.
Fill my tank, bro. I don't know because like Flight Sim has
Space
never been Flight Sim has never been multiplayer. So as far as I'm aware, anyway, so I don't think it's going to have that aspect to
Oh,
it.
okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, that big update is the Dune update also coming this year.
it's coming out the date June 2 comes out.
Yeah.
Sweet.
yeah.
So you can
November
go to
3rd,
cinema.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
So go to cinema,
November
watch
3rd.
Dune 2, and then come home and fly a little ornocopter, whatever it's called, around Arrakis. So that'd be fun. Anyway, moving on. Another really hotly anticipated, hyped game, Hellblade 2. I was a bit indifferent about what we saw. I mean, I know that this game really blurs the line between cinematics and gameplay, but did we actually see any gameplay
And
in that clip?
this is what confused me because there's such massive hype around Hellblade 2, and rightfully so. I haven't played the first one. I know you have, James, and
Yeah,
you
it's good. It is
thoroughly
good.
recommend it,
It
and
is
it
good.
was nominated for the Game of the Year. So if someone who's played the game, and you've completed it, haven't you?
Yeah.
If you don't know what's going on in that trailer, I don't understand how you get someone
Well,
interested
I
in
mean,
the
I'm
game.
not expected to know too much about the story and that so far, but I want to know like how are they developing the gameplay in this sequel? You know, because one of like Hellblade, the first game, one of its criticisms was the gameplay or maybe lack thereof. You did have like combat; it was pretty general and quite generic. But the game was largely an experience more than you can actually play it. And yeah, with Hellblade 2, I mean, like I'm interested in playing the game. Absolutely, I am because I think it just looks like gorgeous, and I think it could be graphically one of the best games sort of to come out in over the next few years. But yeah, there was more gameplay in that 6-minute video they showed at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Was it last year? Than it seemed like there was in this one. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about it at the moment. I just want to see more.
It feels
Yeah.
like there was gameplay there that
I think
seamlessly goes
Yeah,
into
yeah.
cutscene.
Yeah, I think it was a in-game cutscene. Like when you get to this
Yeah.
part in the game, you would see this again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not played the first one. I would very much like to, but I just
Yeah.
wouldn't play this one until I've played the first one. So
No, I do recommend the first game. It's an
Yeah.
experience, and it's an interesting game. I definitely recommend people check it out if they haven't done so already. So yeah, well we still got over half the games to get through, but I'm going to zip through a few of them because
We'll
some
just
of them
rattle
we just
through
don't
'em,
really sort of know what's going on. Forza Motorsport, not much to say about it. It looks fantastic. It's a racing sim.
yeah.
Not for me personally. I'm not a big car
No,
person,
the
but it
same.
looks great, and hopefully everyone who gets to play on October 10th has a great time with that.
Yeah.
ESO Online, big new update for Elder Scrolls Online. Overwatch 2 looks like it's finally getting a full release. New game modes, co-op, Flashpoint, which looked like some TDM game mode, a Hero Mastery shooting range. That's coming out in August. Persona Tactica mentioned earlier. A game coming from a developer which I quite like and enjoy their games. Don't Nod. Juson. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly,
Yeah.
but this is an evolution of their kind of game design. It looks a bit more sort of open world. There's more climbing and action and stuff.
I
And
think that game looks stunning. And
yeah,
barring Starfield, I think that's the one game I'm looking forward to most because I know it's coming soon. And
Yeah.
I really like Don't Nod as well. So I thought
Yeah.
that game looked great.
Check out Life is Strange Season 1 if you haven't checked it out yet. Another game, a similar type of game from Don't Nod's previous stuff, Still Wakes the Deep. A game developed by the Chinese Room, who also made Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Do you remember back in maybe 2016, 17, 18, there was like a wave of walking sims that sort of come out at once. You had Life is Strange, you had Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Firewatch was one as well. And I don't know,
Journey.
have you guys played Journey? Have you guys played Everybody's Gone to the Rapture? I know you have.
I have.
No,
I really
need
enjoyed
to.
it.
No.
It's so basically the game is you kind of wake up in a village in Shropshire and everyone's literally disappeared, and you walk around and you have these little orbs that you interact with, and they tell little snippets of stories of those people's last moments, and you basically just have to piece together what happened. It's kind of like a Mary
it
Celeste
scary?
situation. It's not scary at all. It's kind of like
It's atmospheric.
Eerie.
yeah, it's atmospheric and
eerie,
like ethereal. It's like another thing going on. It's very sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely
I feel
worth
like I'd
playing.
be getting scared.
Nah, you won't.
To be fair,
Go on.
it's scary in a sense that like it really emphasizes this idea of loneliness as well. Like you're the only person alive in this village. Everyone else is gone, and it's like, what do I do now? Where do I go from here? It's a good game. Definitely worth checking out. So
Because
yeah.
I got confused for a second because what was the game you were looking forward to, Charlie? About underwater. I can't
Under
remember
the
what it was
Waves.
called. Yeah, I thought this was that for a second when I first started seeing it, and I was like, "Oh, this looks very different from under the from what we saw of Under the
Yeah, yeah,
Waves." And then I was like, "Oh, complete different game."
Yeah.
But I think this looks really good.
Yeah, so it's stuck on. We saw the trailer. The character was on a seemingly abandoned oil rig.
Oil rig,
Something's
yeah.
gone on. Some sort of disaster's gone on. Some creepy shit happening.
Yeah, to
Who
me,
knows?
because you said the other game wasn't spooky. This game, I feel, looks
Spooky.
Yeah.
a bit
I think
horror,
there is
a
a
bit
horror
like
element to
jump
it.
scare.
It is a horror game. I looked at the trailer on YouTube, and the description is a horror game.
Oh, okay.
Not nice.
But yeah, this looks good. I'm excited to play this.
Yeah, I feel like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture had horror like elements and like little sprinkles here and there. And yeah, I'm glad that they've kind of lent fully into that with this game. This looks really good, and it's definitely a game that I am gonna be playing probably day one. Exactly my type of game. But yeah, so moving swiftly on, we go through a couple of other games. We saw Dungeons of Hinterberg. I can't even remember what that was.
Oh, crap.
Looks like
Dungeons-
a Nintendo 2DS game.
It was that like I don't know. It's very much like a. She was like surfboarding. She had a big sword on her back through like blue fields.
I think that game's perfect for Game Pass. I think it's a game you're going to jump in, do maybe 6 to 8 hours, and then jump out. So I like the look of that.
Yeah, I know I'm usually like the positive sort of everything looks great, but I don't know. But I don't know. I felt like
So
the art
right,
style
okay,
was
so
like the
let's
worst part about it.
if you think that a game looks bad, it must be fucking terrible because you think nothing
Yeah.
looks bad.
I don't know. I just feel like I would never play this. It wasn't just like an immediate gut reaction. Obviously, I
Yeah.
watched the whole thing,
Mm.
but I don't know. I just didn't like the art style so much that I just wouldn't play it ever.
Wanted to be sick in my own mouth.
I felt like putting my
I don't
fist through
know.
my monitor and just walking out. It's
Yeah, I
insulting
don't
to
know.
watch that. That's harsh. Let's
It's
not talk about it like that.
Yeah, but I do agree with Connor though in regards to like it's a perfect small indie
Yeah.
like
Yeah, for the
I don't.
developers, like for them, it's great because they're going to get the exposure that they may not have gotten otherwise. So yeah, good on them. Well, good luck with that game. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're rounding this up now because we're getting towards the end.
Yeah.
Towerborn was another game that we saw. I can't remember what this one was either. I'm so bad. I should have written the notes down as we went along.
Wait, did I write them?
That's that co-op game. It looks co-op, and you're running together in like 3 or 4, I think.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
like a little
co-op
top-down
adventure
thing,
game.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Oh, that's Towerborn. Really selling that, so that's fine. Metaphor Re Fantasio, which we mentioned earlier from Atlas, again, the Persona developers, a new game for them. Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty announcement. Keanu Reeves got up on stage. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. The Cyberpunk boat for me is well and truly fucking left.
Yeah.
Like that ship has
Yeah.
sailed. I'm never going to play Cyberpunk again.
I think I got in there. I very much nearly got to the same point you got to, James, where that boat was literally like one
Leaving.
jump away from me being able to get on it. I did manage to get on it. I did manage to complete it. But
Found your ticket, you jumped on.
yeah. And
Want it in a poker game.
I will play this DLC because completing the game, I did feel like okay, like that was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious because I don't want to say any spoilers, but the game very much ends in a certain way.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, will I be playing as V? Am I still V?
It's going to be some bullshit. It's going to be like do you remember when Fallout 3 came out? Your character dies at the end of Fallout 3. And then the DLC comes out and goes, oh, you didn't die?
Yeah,
it's
you're
going to be
back.
it's going to be video game bullshit.
Yeah.
So unless you play as Keanu Reeves, I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, I'm sure Cyberpunk's it's got its sort of fan base now, but for me, yeah, that whole launch fiasco just buried it for me. So yeah, right. A couple of games to wrap up with. Cities Skylines 2 actually looks really good.
Yeah.
Big fan of city builders. Big fan of like strategy games generally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the sort of industry lead just confirming their position even further or even stronger. So
yeah, it's one of those games you can just lose hours on.
Yeah.
But it's good fun.
Yeah. And finally, to wrap up, a game which I was excited to see actually, Clockwork Revolution. This is In Exile's next big game, a steampunk-looking first-person shooter action RPG. In the game, we saw a very sort of Bioshock Infinite style world. It looked like some retro futuristic 1920s industrial revolution type setting. There were elements of time travel and time manipulation. Like there's a part where she destroyed a bridge and then used an item to rebuild the bridge.
Yeah.
So,
that begs me to question, like, is it just the bridge that's destructible? Or am I going to be going around like Crackdown, flattening the whole
city?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I like games that have destruction. I feel like it's a real good element of like gameplay when it's done right.
Yeah.
I then also don't like this is destructible and then this isn't. It's either all of it should be to a certain extent or none of it should be. So I don't know.
So yeah, that looks quite interesting. Clockwork Revolution. No release date for that, unfortunately, but nice to see. Good. Yeah, nice to see finally what In Exile are working on. Yeah. And that was the Xbox showcase. Oh, actually, before we sign off, hardware reveal. Xbox Series S is getting a 1 terabyte model for $349. We kind of theorized maybe that Starfield was going to be 200 gigabytes, and anyone with an Xbox Series S is not going to be able to play it. So here's
So
an
how
Xbox
much-
Series S with more storage.
How much storage do you get on the normal S version?
It's like
Not
420 after the OS is on there or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
not a lot.
Um,
Gigabytes, not terabytes.
They made like a massive
Yeah.
deal going, oh, it's going back to black. It's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's such a weird tone deaf trailer. It's like, just, it's coming
Who
out.
cares? It's coming out.
There's
It's
more,
another console.
there's more
Yeah.
space. You can play bigger games and it's cheap.
Yeah. There's also another weird thing Xbox very recently just did where
Okay.
they teamed up with Porsche and did like a 75th anniversary of Porsche
Right.
to celebrate their 75 years. And they've got like 6 different versions of the Xbox Series X in different
Why?
colours of the different Le Mans Porsches that have raced over the years. Very strange. Like, it's a very strange kind of collaboration. You can't buy this console. You have to either like win it or like, I don't know. You can't buy it. So, but strange.
Sort of
Very-
marketing, though, isn't it?
Your
Sort of
first party
Yeah, yeah.
studios are in the fucking mud and you're partnering with Porsche and it's
Yeah.
very
It was-
strange.
Peculiar.
Well, I think on the whole, I think the show was good. I think we saw a lot of games, a lot of interesting stuff there. I would have liked to have seen something about Perfect Dark, but we know that studio is going through a bit of a rough time at the moment, so
Yeah.
I'm not expecting to see too
again,
much of that game.
no Everwild.
Yeah.
I thought we'd
true.
see. I thought we'd maybe see Gears, but who knows?
Yeah, I didn't even think
Yeah.
about Gears of War.
Yeah. So I was going to say, just to round off this, what is everyone most looking forward to? What is your runner-up? Ben, do you want to start?
Starfield. I was going to go in there with some curveball, but I couldn't think of any
Yeah,
other
it's
word than
obviously
Starfield. Yeah,
Right.
Starfield definitely takes it for me, big
Okay.
time.
Connor?
Just Son would be the game I'll go for.
Just not
and then,
really. Wow.
Yeah, and then runner
Which one?
up.
Sorry.
The climbing one
Gisont
from.
was the
Oh, yeah,
third
yeah,
nod
sorry.
for
I
what?
just I can see
Yeah.
myself losing myself in that game, and then I think runner up would probably be Fable.
Cool.
Yeah.
Charlie?
Nice. I think Star Wars Outlaws is
Nice.
up there for me.
Yeah.
Because obviously we haven't seen any gameplay, but I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
The fact
so
that it exists
I'm
is
sure it's
enough.
going to be great. And then a runner-up, maybe the flight sim.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ben, do you want to throw a quick runner
Starfield,
up
I'm
in
kind
there?
of just waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with Charlie in for Star Wars as my second choice, to be honest,
Nice.
and
man.
then maybe Fable.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be really original and completely agree with you, Ben. I think Avowed is Avowed. Fuck
No.
off.
Avowed.
Not Avowed. Starfield is a game I am most looking forward to this
Yeah.
year. I think the game is just too big and too impressive looking to be ignored.
Yeah.
I need to play the game to see for myself if it's got that fucking secret sauce that is showing us that it's.
Some would say
It
it's
has.
too
I
big
want-
to fail.
Give me its sauce
Give you that sauce.
all over.
Yeah. And Star Wars Outlaws as a hot second
Mm.
place. If I had to choose a third
Yeah.
one, not that anyone fucking asked, it'd be Fable.
Fable. Yeah.
Sure, it's not Fallout 76, Call of the Vault.
No,
That
definitely
was
not.
the worst trailer I've seen in like 10 years. That was fucking
Yeah.
awful.
Nothing about the game. It's just we're just gonna
Sorry.
run a 3-minute music video.
Here's
and
a little
tell you
melody.
that it exists.
We still
Cheers.
exist. Go and buy some
isn't
vault
it
packs.
Isn't it mad though?
Fuckers.
Like, if they'd have just done that and Starfield didn't exist, everyone would be like, "What the fuck?" But
the
then
fuck?
Starfield comes out
Without
and no one cares.
without Starfield, and I'm not even including it. I don't think that showcase was incredible. I thought it was like a bit.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't incredible. It was.
I've seen.
I'm glad
people on
I've
Twitter
seen
going
some
wild.
stuff. Yeah, but there's always going to be those people
it's
with the
just like-
fucking overreaction. You know, it's always going to be there. I'm glad we saw stuff from Fable and Compulsion's new game, and that Star Wars reveal was a really nice surprise. Obviously, the flight sim
Yeah.
stuff was a nice surprise as well. A few other little bits in there, but yeah, I wouldn't say it was like fucking hell, I've had my fucking nuts blown off it. This is amazing.
No.
Not like Xbox's showcase from 3 years ago when they first announced Fable, and then they first announced Avowed. That was like S tier showcase.
Mm,
But yeah, cool.
but anyway,
Well, that was episode 9. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to get in touch with us or check out our other channels, Discord and whatnot, then tap the link in the description of this episode. My name's James.
I'm Ben.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Charlie. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.